It's Tuesday, February 21st, 2012. I'm Rim.
You told me to stop making noise.
Okay. And this is Geeknights. Tonight, 1001 Nights.
Let's do this.
That was funny.
Oh, good.
You know, it'd be really clever. We'll get Teller from Penn and Teller to be on the show, right?
Okay.
But we'll be like, so Teller, and he won't talk because he's not really here, but we'll act like he's here. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
I'm just improving my variety skills.
It would be very much like making a rim job joke to me, or a father joke to our friend Luke, or perhaps calling my tool a tool, as I did on Twitter earlier today.
Okay.
So last Friday was my company's, we had a fancy party, as, my companies tend to do. It was the Christmas party that was just much delayed.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the Italian wine merchants and had a sort of, wine paired tasting. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but check this. We had a real sommelier, a dedicated sommelier who, presented wine and gave us wine and explained every wine along the way, poured it, decanted it, everything. And we had a whole bunch of pairings, in a row. So they'd bring out a tiny little dish and two different wines to go with it, and then a third wine to go with it, and then another tiny little dish, two little wines, then a third wine. And I got to tell you, I like wine a lot, and I know a lot about wine relative to a lot of people because I pay a lot of attention to it. I write down what I like. I take notes. I have a list of, wines I think are good and think are bad. I can tell you vague differences between a Chianti and a Merlot and a white and a red and whatever. But, yeah, I don't know shit compared to these people.
Mm-hmm.
That was some really good wine.
Or you don't pretend to know shit as much as they pretend to know shit.
No,
because that's all wine is.
See, you say that,
shit.
Scott, but double-blind tests time and time again show that people who study it can actually tell very specifically two different wines apart from each other.
So why don't they just only have the best ones and get rid of all the crappy ones?
Because the best ones cost more money. So, instead...
If you made more of it, the supply would be greater and the money and the cost would be cheaper.
You can't always make more of it. Sometimes a wine is only good because of some particular condition of that vintage or that year or that...
See, the thing that bothers me is they put so much effort into this one fruit and this one beverage from this one fruit. Meanwhile, the world is full of fruits. They don't put nearly as much effort into, say, mango wine.
So why don't you start a vineyard, or I guess an orchard, and have the best fucking apples and, spend that effort on apples in the terroir?
Because I don't know shit about growing apples. That's not my terroir.
I mean, you could elevate apple juice.
If you want me to make computer wine, I can do that.
You could elevate apple juice to the same place wine is now if you worked at it.
Sure. Okay.
I think what's going against you, Scott, is that wine has... many thousands of years of tradition since it's one of the few things people could drink back in the days of disease.
Well, I think it's just because there were people in Europe who were growing and making wines before people in the apple growing places were doing so.
But, so why didn't Johnny Appleseed get on that shit?
He wasn't a real person. Was he a real person?
You don't know, do you?
I'm pretty sure he wasn't.
So anyway, it's a Tuesday, video game day, board game day.
He was hanging with Paul Bunyan.
So what do you got for me?
Apparently Johnny Appleseed was a real person.
I was also on my way to Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
I knew he was, but I didn't know much about him, other than that the story I saw in the Disney cartoon is probably not 100% accurate.
No, you think? Okay.
So what do you got?
A news?
News.
All right, so check this out. Someone wrote this article, and it's why the NFL bans iPads. Now, people don't know this, but, in footballs, the American footballs, right, in the olden days, what they would do is they would have someone at the top of the stadium who would take a picture of the play, right? Then he would tie the photograph to, a little balloon or a rope and, rope it down to the sideline so the coach could look at it. Nowadays, it's really not much more sophisticated than that. They have someone at the top of the stadium take a big black and white photo of the whole thing, and then it gets printed out of a laser printer down on the sideline, and they have binders. You'll see them during the games with these big binders full of black and white photos showing, team offense, team defense, whatever. And it's there's been talk of well, look, why don't they just have a freaking iPad, right? Or just something with a screen, and they can just poke it, and it would be great. And
now, this problem isn't just endemic to football. I mean, look at football, where they won't even use proper officiation.
Well, yeah, but this is right. So how come coaches can't use this? How come only the quarterback has headphones in his helmet and they have to huddle up? Why don't they just put the headphones in everyone's helmet?
Hell, why don't we have augmented reality goggles in everyone's helmets? They can see all the stats of everyone. The plays are coming in real time.
Yeah, so they were researching doing this, and I was just the only reason they don't do that is because they're just slow on the uptake and whatever. No. this guy thought of something that I should have thought of,
Nah.
which is there's a very, really good reason they don't do it, which is that you'll basically, it's not cheating, but you'll cheat. Because what you'll do is somebody will develop an AI coaching program that looks at the plays and shows the real coach, like, there is a 99% probability this is the play they will run in the next play. Here is the optimal play to run against them, and the actual coach won't really have to do all that much. And
So, Scott,
the computer will now run the
you
whole
realize
show.
this is the same thing as saying, here's why in El Grande you're not allowed to see what's in the Castile because it makes the players remember to make the game. You know, it's basically saying this sport is fundamentally flawed, and we are going to make one aspect of it difficult to analyze to slow down the inevitable computerization of
Right.
everything.
So the thing is, if you did computerize it, it would come down to simply execution by the players on the field.
You mean like baseball is now?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. The thing is, even with the current technology, they could do it eventually anyway, even without that technology.
How could they do it?
So all you have to do is get, the picture of every play before it goes. So and then the result of that play, and have someone keying in all this data after games and building up a giant statistical database.
Oh, they already have this database, but the point is, you don't have access to the database during the game.
So it would probably be.
They have this already. It's
No,
just
so
you
what I'm
need
saying,
you need
Scott,
to access.
let me finish.
Okay.
It would probably be, if someone was actually willing to cheat, pretty easy to have someone else in the stands or with a plane or in space with a satellite watching this stuff and feeding a play stream to the coach.
How are you going to feed it to the coach?
All right, so does he have that headset on?
He does, but it's encrypted. And remember, they check it before. Like the NFL comes in, you're only allowed to have the headset with certain people, and it's most of those. It's just like it's like a closed circuit thing. You can't just
All right.
communicate
So
with the coach.
is it against the rules for the coach to look at the audience?
You're gonna get hand signal from the.
Can he
from
look into the stands?
stands?
Yeah, and a guy hand signals. Is it against the rules for him to look into the stands?
It's not, but here's the problem with hand signals from the stands.
Yeah?
The other coach can read the hand signals from the stands once they figure it out. And
So only so this coach only knows in each quarter, here's the seat you look at.
also, who is exactly in the stands giving these hand signals?
Oh, you buy tickets ahead of time and you set up
But
some whole
who's the
system.
person?
I don't know, you hire someone.
So you hire someone, so now it's a staff of your team?
Sure.
Nope, not allowed.
So what exactly is the rule?
I don't know the specific rule, but you can't team. People who are like on the team, coaches, trainers.
All right. So
they're not allowed to use computers or anything like 2 hours before the game. Period. And you're not allowed to have cell phones. You're not allowed to communicate with anyone except on those hardwired phones on the sideline, and those talk to the booth up at the top where your other coaches are. You cannot talk to pretty much anyone during the game. So you'd pretty much have to be hand signals from the stands from like someone who is a fan and could not be connected to your team in any way.
So there's precedent for that. It's called super PACs. Someone founds another corporation completely separate that makes its money, based on, I don't know, betting on the spread of the team it's helping.
The other problem is, right, if anyone is the person who is giving these hand signals, right, has to be in a position to see, right?
Oh, so they have a
going on.
computer and they have access to all this
But
data.
no, here's the problem. In order to be able to see what's going on, you have to be in the nosebleeds to see everything.
Yeah, so Scott, you've got one guy in the nosebleeds seeing everything.
And by the time he
and
communicates,
he's got a computer.
it's
talking
too
in-
late.
He's talking in real time with the guy doing the hand signals down
And what do you
below.
do when the other team runs the hurry up offense?
In that case, you got to
You
just
don't
wing
have
it.
enough time.
Got to just wing it.
Yeah.
Here's the real issue. Even if there's no way around it because, they make rules and they, maybe they set up a screen where the people in the football players themselves can't see the people in the stands. Like some sort of plasma screen that you can only see one way through the air. I don't know. It's the same as the rules in bullshit games like Shadows over Camelot where you're not allowed to talk because the game's broken if you
Well,
talk
it's
to each
different
other.
than talking. It's accessing a database of information live. That's like looking in the Scrabble dictionary during Scrabble.
But what you're saying is that this game...
Oh, you can't look in the Scrabble dictionary during Scrabble. Well, yeah, duh.
But this is different. This is more...
It's exactly the same as that.
Yeah, but at the same time, Scrabble is flawed in that someone who has memorized that can play fairly optimally.
Nobody, yeah, it's true. But, a lot of people, they just memorize the 2-letter words. They haven't, and the Q words. And, they don't memorize all the words.
All right, so what if I just have a robot
This is
coach?
the equivalent of memorizing all the words.
What if we make a robot coach straight up?
That's what this would be.
Yeah, what if we make that
You're not allowed to have a robot coach. You have to have a person coach.
So what about in the future when we make AIs in bodies that are deemed human by the UN?
Then football probably won't be a sport by then because it'll probably be played by the robot.
Then it would be an awesome sport because it would be like F1. This year, everyone's only allowed to have one leg.
But it wouldn't.
It's a speed restrictor.
Football wouldn't exist anymore. It would be other sports that robots.
I think it would be evolved football. I think humans will hold on to football even after they no longer have human
even
bodies.
Football people are suggesting that football is actually not going to be around forever. I mean,
Scott,
the number one sport used to be boxing. Where's boxing now?
Yeah, but Scott, look at baseball, tenuously holding on despite the fact that no one cares.
People care.
But baseball is that end game of basically it comes down to just the menial execution of one guy and the microsecond of when he actually swung.
Yeah, they should make it harder to play baseball. They should make the pitcher's mound farther back. They should make the bases farther out. They should bring the fences farther out so it's harder to hit and it's harder to pitch and
the other
everything's
thing
harder.
Is that more and more what you can do is analyze games after the fact and come up with expert systems that can be referenced via binders and people, and basically you can
you want to make an expert system via the binder instead of the database?
Yeah, basically if you can boil it down to, there are some decisions, you're saying this is impossible to do if you try to make all the decisions for the coach.
It's not illegal to have the binder. If you could make that binder that took the place of the database, you would have mad money.
So this is what I'm saying, because here's one thing about game theory that's fascinating. Game theory, like the computations on complex games are more than a human could do. They're mostly more than a computer can do, because a human just can't do all the calculations.
Yeah, we're not talking about calculating the game theory. We're talking about statistical models.
Yeah, but they're the same thing. So hear me out. In computers and algorithms that will solve a game, they basically can only do it by brute force, because what a computer cannot do that humans can, by hook or crook, do very magically well is look at a list of options. Like in Puerto Rico, I have a ludicrous number of options every turn. And you know what?
Well, not really. You have 6 at most.
Relative to the number of options that reasonably can be good for me. Look at chess. There are so many options every turn. It's ridiculous. And it's only compounded turn after turn. And every turn, the majority of those options to any human will be obviously crap. So what you do is you leave the decisions that humans are good at in the hands of the coach, and you boil down a set of binders for each difficult decision. So if there's a difficult decision, that's when the coach does the timeout, gets the printout, looks in the expert system, finds the answer, and executes it.
Yeah, but that, how many games though, right? See, this thing, it ruins the sport as a spectator sport.
Fuck that. No, so not games that are spectator sports have to change the rules to make the game always interesting to the spectator. This is baseball's primary problem. Great to play, boring to watch because there's nothing left for the spectator unless you're, I don't know.
There's a lot of people who like to watch it. They fill stadiums year
I know,
after
but
year.
not nearly as many people as they used to. And I see a lot of empty seats when I see baseball games.
Oh, just because you see baseball games at like the Mets stadium.
The Mets.
go to the Red Sox. Go to Fenway. It's packed. It's sold out every game.
Compare the popularity of baseball to football.
Well, there's many different reasons for that.
I know.
Because there's not a lot of football games,
but
so each one is crazy important. Believe me, if there were only 16 baseball games, each one would be sold out.
But if I'm in a game and I'm playing that game to win, fuck the spectators. Remember, we were in that Mario part, or the Duck Hunt and regular Mario Brothers tournament at OhioCon in 2002. The spectators, wanted to see the match. I stood up because I had to see the screen better than you. They wanted to see a long, drawn-out point match. I just pushed you into a fucking fireball because you know what? I'm playing to win the goddamn game.
Well, yeah.
So
anyway.
if the players can do something optimal, like, the Giants played a very somewhat boring to watch, but the most chance of winning strategy at the end of the Super Bowl. I would have been mad if they did anything but that.
Well, they're not stupid, right?
Exactly.
It's a Super Bowl. You're not, if you wanted to make the game entertaining, right, you would lose because it's way more exciting when it's like, you'd be burning wheel if you wanted to make it entertaining. You'd be like, I'm just going to fumble. Woo, it's exciting. Oh my God, he dropped the ball. What the fuck? Right? That would be the most exciting game.
Maybe like variety shows, Running Man, we need variety sports. You know what it is? It's called the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, they were just here.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
So briefly, there was an article on Slashdot mostly talking about software, and they weren't really aiming this at games.
Software, whoa, what a great topic.
So a question was posed, and it was more of a rant. A guy asked if splash screens are just a sign of program bloat, and it talks all about splash screens, and you're all familiar with splash screens.
I mean, splash screens are partially because, hey, you click on the program, it doesn't load immediately, so you got to do something so the user knows it is loading.
Except,
But two, a lot
way-
of people just do it for, like, they want to just get in your brain, so they put that there.
So this is where it comes to gaming, because I am so sick of games.
That have all those logos and videos when you turn
Yes,
them on.
I don't care that Sierra made the game. I already know that.
You
I've
can put
seen
the logo
splash
somewhere,
screen.
like on the main menu screen, like in the corner, or all, just don't make me wait through it.
So yeah, there's two kinds of splash screens, and we'll just talk about games. Forget software. I have a whole technical argument as to why the way splash screens are done are mostly bullshit. But there's splash screens like when I launch, I don't know, Counter-Strike, where it takes, or any
It's like
Valve game.
Valve.
But it takes a second, if I can skip it, but then it just goes to a loading screen saying, yeah, game's still not loaded. You didn't buy anything.
Yeah, the Microsoft Office splash screen, it's loading while you're watching that little wavy thing. But the friggin' Counter-Strike, that Valve video, it's not loading Counter-Strike while you're watching the Valve video, right? It's just loading the Valve video.
But I think that's bullshit anyway, because splash screens existed to give you instant feedback when you clicked on something, because we know that if you don't get instant feedback on a computer, people freak out.
Yep.
But splash screens are so ubiquitous that when people see a splash screen, they assume nothing's happening anyway. A splash screen, I think, does nothing for you in the modern era.
Yep.
And I hate them.
I also
And
hate them.
I'm sick of the fact that interfaces don't respond to me immediately. Human-computer interaction. The interface should have the highest thread priority of fucking anything if there are humans
Of
involved.
course, but the thing is, I want to point something out, right? This guy, because I read this article too, independently.
Oh, his
of you
rant,
mentioning
whatever.
it.
I just used
No,
this
no, no.
as an excuse.
He said, why can't it be like the iPhone and the iPad where everything's instant, right? Let's see. Here's my iPhone. Let me open up the Facebook app.
Here, I'll open
Wait,
my
what's that? A
Android.
splash screen? Wait, what's this on the Google Plus app? Another splash screen? Yeah,
Here.
everything on the iPhone has splash screens also.
Well, Droid's better. I'll play Carcassonne. Let's see. I launched it up. Nothing. Blank, blank, blah. There's a splash screen.
yeah.
Now there's a loading
This guy's like,
bar.
why can't it be like the mobile? Oh, but the mobile also has the splash screens. So
Everything has this problem.
the only time it doesn't have the splash screens in the iPhone is if like if I load Facebook, right, it's already loaded. Then you won't see the splash screen again. But if it's completely unloaded, you're going to see the splash screen again.
So, guys, I'm going to take you back to an era. Remember Shockwave.com and Newgrounds and all that shit?
Well, those are Newgrounds is still around.
I know. I know because I made the mistake of asking my Twitter feed what the hell Homestuck was. And good God, did you people respond to me.
Right.
Anyway. But back in the day, and I took a bunch of classes on Flash, and I had a copy of Director 7 that I used to make stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way back then, even when you're making a Flash animation, it's going to take a long time to load because, the internet sucked back then. You could make a pre-application that would load quickly and have interaction with the user ahead of the main
Yep,
thing.
I
loading in
remember
the
that. It's like
background.
you would have a big a Flash file, right? And a Flash game. And in those days, on 56K, the Flash game would take a while to load, like
Hell,
minutes.
Radiskull would take like a minute before that. Yeah. would
Right, so
happen, or
what you would do is
"Oh."
there would be like a really crappy Space Invaders you would play that loaded in 2 seconds that only like on a 56K modem.
So Valve,
And you would play that Space Invaders while you were waiting for Radiskull.
when I double click on Counter-Strike and it's loading, why don't you just pop up the server browser fucking immediately?
Well, you can just do the server browser from Steam instead of doing it from
But
opening
when I
counters.
do that, it's not like it's loading Counter-Strike in the background. So I go to join a server and then it goes, and then it starts loading.
Yep.
And Counter-Strike takes like 2 seconds to load. What about, Team Fortress 2 takes 4 or 5 seconds to load. That's a lot of time. I'm sitting looking at a screen I hate.
There's a lot of things you have to load into memory. There's a lot of game resources.
I know, but I feel like we solved this problem a long time ago.
How did we solve this problem? The game has a lot of resource files, all these models and 3D maps and everything,
So
right?
you do what Google
and it
does
has to
with
load them
Chrome.
off the hard drive and into the RAM.
So, Scott, you do what Google does with Chrome, where it prefetches stuff. If I click on Counter-Strike in Steam, the default should be pop up the server browser and start loading the fucking game into RAM because I'm probably going to play it. And if I don't play it, just drop it. It's a cache. Who cares? People have shit tons of RAM.
It depends.
I feel like
What if you start clicking around in every game in your Steam, like you're just clicking around? It's suddenly your computer's doing all this useless work, like.
Yeah, but you're not doing anything else, and you got plenty of RAM. The hit to performance of dropping something out of your cache is negligible for most people.
It's not the easiest thing to do, especially when every game is different. So you can't just make one system that works for everything.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying, just Valve do it. I don't trust anyone else to do that. I expect there'll be crazy.
And because
stupid...
it's not exactly the load times aren't exactly hurting their sales, right? Are they going to sell any more Counter-Strikes? Because it loads?
Yes, thus my the kind of end game. The reason I brought this up
because that's what you always say.
As you know, I changed jobs a while ago. I'm product manager now, so I design products. I have the whole workflow, QA, developer, all that stuff. And one thing that I know very clearly is that many of the things that make software good make $0 more.
Yep.
And it pisses me off, but that's the reality of the world. Nobody's going to look at Mass Effect that has some shit menus and a bunch of problems. Great game, but it has all these little UI problems.
Isn't that game that Scott Johnson was playing where it's you go to different planets and sometimes you're in the ship and sometimes you're walking around? That game sucks.
Yeah, Scott hates every game. Anyway, but all these little UI problems. I mean, look at how many people buy games that don't even support joypads, despite the fact that they're a joypad game, and they'll go download shady-ass shit like Joy to Pad. That doesn't hurt sales at all.
I thought it was Joy to Key.
Whatever it is, it's shady. Seriously, people, that's why you have spyware.
The reason it doesn't hurt sales is because 90% of people playing a PC game don't have a Joy in the first place. They don't need Joy to Key. Right? It's just rare that people can't even get their microphones to work. How are they going to get their Joy to work?
But look at how many indie games have crap netcode, and people buy them anyway because people don't really care about polish. They say they do, and they say they want polish, but the only place polish sells is Apple, and I don't see anyone else trying to do that. Maybe they're trying and they're just failing. I can't tell. Anyway.
Polish is the most expensive part.
I know. I want polish, but there's no money in polish.
Anyway.
But anyway, things of the day.
All right, we're gonna play a game.
Playing a game?
Yep, the game is called Find the Best Book on Project Gutenberg. You ready?
The Count of Monte Cristo? No, it'd be a shit translation.
All right, here's my entry. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is the one to beat. So if Rim or any listener or anyone out there can find a better book on Project Gutenberg than this, then you win. But until now, I'm the winner because here's my submission. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is a book by a man named Francis Groves. It is a book from 1811, so it's clearly in the public domain. It is known as Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue.
Oh, my.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Shall we examine some entries?
Oh, we shall.
Oh, let me load them. Click plain text. All right, here we go. Let's go up. We're in the letter B. Let's see. A bellhauser. Transportation for life, i.e. as long. Okay.
It's not terribly vulgar.
No.
Scott, you do realize...
Bible. A boatswain's great axe. Sea term.
So you do realize, Scott, that vulgar in the vernacular in that era basically meant slang.
I know. But there's many other words in here that are good. For example...
I'm waiting for you to give me something vulgar in the modern sense.
Blanket hornpipe. The amorous Congress is what it means.
Amorous Congress is now my phrase for just about everything, I think.
Okay, let's see. A cobble coulter is a turkey.
This is still pretty good.
Cock-a-whoop means elevated in high spirits, transported with joy. All right, I'm going to go down to some, just one more.
Okay.
Let's see. I got to find a funny one. Hertfordshire kindness. Drinking twice to the same person. So yeah, this is an excellent dictionary, and if you can somehow learn to speak using only the words in this dictionary, you're made of win.
So my thing of the day is also not new. In fact, it's not quite 100 years old, but it's way old. I bring it up mostly because there are many aspects
Thing of the day rewind.
Of this thing. It hasn't been a thing of the day before, and I want you to learn what those things are because I worry, I have this suspicion that many of you don't know who Coco the Clown is, nor do you know who Cab Calloway was.
I think people know who Cab Calloway is.
I wonder, actually.
Well, I'm sure there's punk kids who don't, but I mean...
Yeah, I'm talking our listeners, all of you right now. How many of you actually know who Cab Calloway is?
Me.
Yeah. So this is a video, an excerpt from an old cartoon, a Betty Boop cartoon, which many of you know of Betty Boop, you know, Boo Boo Beat, and you think of it as like this old cartoon kind of thing.
You know
like,
what's really funny is like you see a lot of people who have like a whole bunch of Betty Boop shit,
but have no idea, never seen
but they've
one.
never actually watched any of it. It's just like a character, you know. It's like a brand of just this thing,
Yep.
but they don't actually know any of the source material.
Betty Boop cartoons are way different from what you probably think they are.
No.
So this is an excerpt from a Betty Boop take on Snow White that also has the great Coco the Clown in it, and Bimbo. And one, I'm amazed as an adult that Betty Boop cartoons were aimed at who they were aimed at, because showing this to a little kid today, it's basically nightmare fuel.
Well, that's the point.
Exactly. This stuff is awesome.
That's
But-
why cartoons and comics are the devil.
But anyway, so this video is great. Now, the song is great, and a lot of people I've shown this to were like, oh, that's a great mashup. And I'm like, oh, it's not a mashup. That's actually
That's
Cab
the
Calloway.
original real deal. What do you
This
who
is
do you
a-
think this is?
Cab Calloway sang this song, and they rotoscope animated him dancing for Coco the Clown in this. This is for real Cab Calloway. If you don't know who Cab Calloway is, remember the Blues Brothers?
Kill yourself.
Remember the Blues Brothers? Remember the awesome guy?
Listen, if you don't know who Cab Calloway is, you don't know who the Blues Brothers are either.
So there's a movie called The Blues Brothers. Not Blues Brothers 2000. The Blues Brothers. And it has a
Rim's on a
character in
mission
it.
from God to
I
tell
am-
you
I am
about
on a
this.
mission. A listener reminded me of our old promo. We've got I forget even what it was, but we did a promo that was a take on the Blues Brothers that got played on Anime World Order
Great.
in like 2005.
Sure.
So Cab Calloway played a guy who sang a song you may have heard called Minnie the Moocher. Cab Calloway is one of the greatest human beings to ever exist.
I don't know about that.
Greatest musicians.
He was cool. He's not. You're saying how many? Wait, top what?
Top 500?
Okay, sure, 500.
Yeah.
That's a little too lenient.
How many musicians have existed in the world? I think he's in the top 500.
Okay.
I like Cab Calloway.
I'll give him top 500.
But anyway, watch this. Learn who Cab Calloway was. Learn who the Blues Brothers are. Learn about Betty Boop and Coco the Clown and the Fleischer Brothers. And you will be on a road to internet excellence. That all aside, we got the meta moment. We will be at the Penny Arcade Expo East 2012 over Easter weekend. East, haha, get it?
If you're not
Easter.
there, you suck.
If you didn't get a badge,
Stop listening.
you're fucked. You can't. Too late. However, they still need enforcers. So,
If you enforce, you're the opposite of suck.
in fact,
You
you are
win.
a gentleman and a scholar, and you get all my respect.
Or a gentle lady and a scholar.
We are doing
Or a
one,
gentle person.
We
and
are
a
doing so
scholar.
far. We'll have our schedule up soon. One lecture. Let's play money making game. All about monetization models and games. We are doing a 2-hour workshop on tabletop gaming, the title and schedule to be announced, that will basically be, it's in a classroom panel room. It's going to be a big panel room, tons of seats, stage, projector, webcam, and all the seats have tables. We're going to teach people how to play some German fucking games.
And how to win, too.
The documentary that it almost makes me blush because it portrays us in very glowing terms. Going Cardboard, which we were featured fairly prominent in by Lorian Green. We'll be having a screening. We will try to be at that screening beforehand to say hi, maybe answer some questions.
I don't know
And-
why. It's not like we didn't make the movie.
Yeah, but we're in it.
We're in it more than we should be.
And
We deserve to be.
we will be slipping over to Anime Boston, I think Friday afternoon, evening, to do at least one panel, one lecture, Diamonds in the Rough, which, for all those in the know, is just another title for anime you should see with a different list of anime.
That's right.
And yes, so PAX East is going to be pretty fucking ballin'.
No.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah.
What is the book club book?
I haven't decided yet.
Good job.
Hey, you push me, I'll pick a fucking book and you're not going to be happy.
So we should, I just want to remind people the internets exist, and this show is called Geeknights, but our website is not geeknights.com, it's frontrecruit.com.
Don't ask why.
You should go there. You should also go to the forum that's there.
You should go
also,
to the Geek Nights Rim YouTube channel, which has many of our lectures and other things
Yeah,
from Geek Nights.
And you can go to Twitter, Facebook, or Google Plus to follow us wherever you are on the internet.
If you're a fan of the ponies, you should check out the other show we launched, Radio Free Equestria.
anywhere on the internet that you are, we are also there, so you should hook up with us.
There's lots of stuff from us.
Front Row Crew, Geek Nights, whatever it is.
Yes.
Look for it.
So I talked about this as kind of a geek bite a long time ago, but Scott has now played the game, and we're in fact running a campaign of the game. So I think it's about time to do a proper show on the game.
And we had no other game that we've played recently to do a show on.
Well, I've been playing a bunch of games, but a bunch of games means I have a flowchart. Every day when I get home from work, I think, can I play Tribes 2? If the answer is no, I think, can I play NS2? If all the servers are full and or empty, I think, am I playing Counter-Strike?
That's right.
So I've been playing a lot of NS2.
I usually do that, but lately I added a question in the beginning, which is, have I seen every episode of Running Man yet?
You know,
until the answer is yes,
I can't be super down on
Counter-Strike
you
is on a hold.
because I've been playing all this stuff, and I've also been kind of watching some Running Man, and while I haven't divin in 100%, it's pretty good.
And it eats up all your time because each episode is like as long. The amount of Running Mans I've watched, I could have finished like 2 more pages of IMDb top. Actually, the reason I haven't progressed on my IMDb top 250 thingy is because the movie I currently have for Netflix is Once Upon a Time in America, which is 2 DVDs, which means it's probably like 5 hours or some shit like that. And I'm just like,
I did also recently watch Inception again
again, why?
because Emily had never seen it.
Okay.
You know what? Watching it again.
She didn't go with us to see it?
No, she was out of town or something. But watching it again, it was just as good as the first time because
it was okay.
it was
Good movie.
There was a lot of little subtle bits. Like I forgot my favorite line in the whole movie. Like at the end, near the end, where the guy's like, "I really wanted to see what was going to happen in there."
Oh yeah,
I love that guy. Anyway, 1001 Nights is a role-playing game. One of those, indie
by
RPGs.
Megway Baker.
Megway Baker, who actually is related to the gaming world in a lot of ways. We'll get to that. We'll talk about her history after we talk about the game.
Mm-hmm.
The game is, I've also described it as, yo dog, I heard you like role-playing, so I put some role-playing in your role-playing.
That's right. See,
which is why I brought up Inception.
Yeah, guys. So this is how this game works, right? It's 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights, those kinds. Everyone plays someone in the Sultan's court, but you're not the Sultan. You can't be the Sultan, even though I wanted to be. So, who are you, Rim?
In this current game, oh my god, I gotta get my character sheet. Give me a second.
I got mine on my desk.
I am Walid Al-Abbas, the court physician.
I'm Danash Al-Tubi, the food taster.
But in the most recent one, I was also the all-powerful genie, what grants basically no wishes.
All right, so the way it works is that you're all in the court, and everyone in the court envies something about everyone else in the court, right? So, and at the same time, you sit there and you trash talk each other in the court, and you don't want to get punished by the Sultan, because that means, right? So you're all smack talking without getting punished, and eventually somebody says, let me tell you a story. And then it's on. Suddenly, there's a new story, and everyone is now a new character in that story. It's role-playing in your role-play.
The famous example
Yo,
I
dog.
use in every lecture where we talk about this, and I think I used it when I GeekBit this RPG way back, was the first game of it we played. Our friend Pete played the eunuch, Mustafa bin Mustafa.
Great.
And Mustafa bin Mustafa really envied my character, the Don Juan, lover, court, poet, whatever dude.
Because you had a dick.
Yeah, he envied my penis.
That's right.
So he was telling a story. The story of the brave and powerful eunuch who saved the day.
Mm-hmm.
But he made me, the lover boy, play the eunuch. Put me in his shoes. So being awesome, my character doesn't like him, and I'm in this role. So I have my character play this role in the following way. Herp de der, I am der eunuch, big and stupid, no penis have I. Better. And that is the essence of this game.
Yeah, you play a person playing a person, and it's like you have to meta out, and there's 3 levels. There's you, the real you, your number 1 character, and you, the character in the story that your character is pretending to be. It's
so
like, oh my gosh.
Let's talk about the mechanics of the game before we really get into it.
Right,
because,
so one person's telling the story.
Well, no, so basically you've got a character, and every character has a goal. In their actual goal, like Walid Al-Abbas has a goal. He wants the new Sultan to submit to his physical examinations. The new Sultan refuses to, seek his doctorly wisdom. So that's my goal. My character's working toward that. And you play, you alternate between playing a story and playing just in the court. And in the court, you kind of just role play in character. The game is designed to be primarily in the first person. The book encourages you to lounge, to have figs and dates and raisins and pistachios,
They're trying to sell pistachios, which are mad expensive.
to drape yourselves and really get into the character of it. And it's talking first person. And it amazes me every time I see this game run that people really get into character way more than any other role-playing game I've seen people play outside of LARPs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really brings in all the good stuff of a LARP without all the bad stuff of a LARP.
Yeah, because this, it's like, most LARPs, it's like, well, you go around hitting people with swords and stuff. Well, in this one, there's none of that. So you actually, even, it's like, well, we're going to role play a bunch of people laying around telling stories. Oh, so we're LARPing and we're still not doing anything that we wouldn't do at the tabletop because we're role-playing as people sitting around telling stories.
In fact, Scott's character basically pulled is there any Mountain Dew? He wanted a bunch of wine.
That's right.
But so your character has a goal, and you have all these people around you that you envy, but you cannot do anything to mechanically advance toward your goal in the court. There is nothing you can do. Roleplay all you want, doesn't the fuck matter.
Yeah.
But once a story starts, you accumulate dice, and at the end of the story, you can allocate those dice to achieve your goal in the court.
Or
from
freedom.
From now on, we'll call them real life, court, and story. Those are the 3 levels. So in the story, you get these dice. At the end, you allocate them, you roll. And if you make movement at the end of a story toward your goal, when you go back to court, you and all the other players kind of set the scene and then role play out, the successes and failures based on the roles that you earned from the story.
So if I do really well in the story, when we go back to court, I could earn my freedom and escape the court.
Or my character, Walid Al-Abbas, did not want the wife of the new sultan, to get her goal. So I dicked her in the dice rolling part. So then we had
you can attack other people with your dice.
Yep. So we had to role play out how my character dicked her. We basically, in court, you now know the outcome, whether or not you made progress, and then you have to role play out that progress.
And then you tell another story.
So the mechanics of the story are incredibly elegant, and they really encourage a fast-paced, free-form role-playing system that it takes a while to get good at. I don't know how many times I lost a die because I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck was this?
Right, so the way it works is while someone's telling the story, you can ask questions. Now, if you're normal at the game, you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do is just sort of ask questions directly. Like, oh, there's a lamp. Is there a genie in the lamp, right? Or stuff like that. And, you're just going to go ask basic stuff. Or like, what's the name of the genie? That kind of thing. When you level up, you're going to realize that you get the die and you get to roll the die when the question is answered. So you're going to ask a question right before it's about to be answered. That's strategy number 2.
You could see how when people started to figure this out, because then, the character, I was the genie and I was like, I will grant you but one wish. And then everyone's like, how many wishes will be asked? Who's going to ask a wish? Like, everyone asks all these questions all at once.
Right. You ask a question right before it's about to be answered. Like, the guy is rubbing the lamp. And it's like, does the genie come out? It's like, you're going to get to roll that die immediately, right?
Now, you kind of want to make life difficult for the storyteller because they're the ones who can accrue the most dice.
That's right. So here's the third, the highest level strategy is to ask is the same strategy you use when building character sheets for the players in Dread, which is to ask the question with the assumed information in it. For example, right? If the guy's rubbing a lamp, right, and a genie's about to come out, do not ask, right, does the genie come out? Ask, why does the genie that comes out get so pissed off? Now, you asked a question, but you've also told the story. Now, there has to be a genie that comes out, and it has to be pissed off, right? It's like that is the highest level strategy you can get, which is you basically tell the story, attack the story, force the storyteller to go in a direction they didn't want to go. Take control away from them
because you want it
with your leading asshole questions.
Because the way the mechanics work is every time you raise a question, you take a die, and all your dice look the same, and you put it in front of you. You can have up to 5 out at a time.
Yep.
You only get that die and put it in your cup for a roll later if the question is addressed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you forget what the question is, it's gone.
Yep.
You just lose it. You have to, just toss it off your table and keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
So every player, if there's 5 players, there can be 20 questions out, and the person telling the story has to answer all of them. Whenever a question is answered, the die is rolled. If it's, I forget if it's even or odd or what, but basically if it's even, the person who rolled it gets to keep it and put it in their cup. If it's odd, the storyteller gets to keep it and put it in their cup.
All right, so the storyteller basically wants to get the story's over when the storyteller gets a certain number of dice.
I think it's 8.
So they want to answer as many of those questions as they can as quickly as possible.
But they cannot end the story until either once they've reached, their 8, then they can only end the story by addressing every person's question out there. Or they can give up, I think, half their dice. Like they give up a number of their dice to interrupt the story, and then they cut immediately back to court and they narrate some sort of interruption like, war breaks out, a bunch of guards come in, the Sultan passes out and vomits.
If there's too many dick questions, right, then the storyteller has to do that. Which is why asking dick questions is the best.
So then
it's like, imagine if all my questions are these leading questions, and the GM's just like, I don't want to bring the story in any of those directions, but I got 5 dick dice out.
How long is the genie's dick?
Right.
Does the eunuch get his dick back?
No, it's not does the eunuch get his dick back. It's how big is the new dick the eunuch just got.
I remember in one game I asked the question, does the assassination attempt succeed?
Right.
And the storyteller says, there was no, and then stops and says, fuck you, Rim.
Right. Who rapes the eunuch in the butt?
Now,
who just stabbed the Sultan?
You don't have to be a dick like Scott is.
What method of murder was just used on Rim?
The point of all this is that the mechanics are very simple, and you have this meta goal. As a player, you're just trying to get as many fucking dice as possible.
Mm-hmm.
As a character, your character wants to get as many dice as possible too.
And be a jerk as much as possible.
No, he just wants to get as many dice as possible for himself as well, without letting other people get a lot of dice, because you want to roll as many dice as possible to get what your character wants. So your player's goals and your character's goals are together. But in the story, your goal is basically, like as a character, just to make the story cool, just to have fun. So the mechanics are very simple, but yet what tends to happen every time I see this play is that the stories that are told are really, really interesting and go in surprising directions. And the theme and the color and the flavor text are all really great, especially because it's a story. Sometimes you're all role-playing. Sometimes you're narrating. Sometimes the storyteller will just stop everyone and narrate the rest of the story. And then the other people are just asking questions. So the storytelling style changes based on the kind of story you're telling.
It also benefits you. If you're a storyteller that can just keep going and the story's captivating, no one's going to ask questions.
Yeah.
Because they're all ensnared by your story. So it's like it actually directly rewards you for storytelling skills. And likewise, the asking of questions isn't actually asking questions. I mean, it can be, but those are low-level questions. The high level is actually storytelling through asking questions. So again, directly rewarded for telling stories in a game about stories called 1001 Arabian Nights, which is a story about stories.
Now, this game, other games teach you how to roleplay. Like Burning Wheel teaches you how to introduce conflict and fuck everything for everyone.
Right.
Because that's awesome. This game, if you play it a lot, kind of like how DDR teaches you to move your feet in a certain way, you'll suddenly find that you're a better storyteller if you play this game a bunch. Like, for real, straight up.
Maybe.
I think so. I've played it more than anyone in our crew. I've played 3 games of it.
Whoa, 3 times.
Oh, shit, son.
So many times.
And I cannot praise this game enough. I love it. It's one of my favorite role-playing games.
It's also a game that can be done in the one shot or in the many shot, which is very good because there aren't too many role-playing games that do that well. They're
so
usually
the
one or the
mechanic
other.
at the end, so the story ends, and then everyone takes their dice and allocates them into 3 pools. Safety, their goal or their desire, and freedom. Because you cannot get freedom from the Sultan's court. You are trapped there. Everyone is trapped there.
Yep.
You can advance the court story by, you have your desire. I allocate 3 dice to desire. I roll them. Every even, I get toward my desire. And if I get a certain number of dice, I think it's 5 or 8, I forget, I get my desire. And we're going to straight up roleplay me getting my desire, whatever I wanted. If I wanted to bang the Sultan's wife, I do it. I get it.
Yeah.
But I can also go for freedom, which basically means the Sultan gives me my leave to leave his court.
Or you escape or something.
Yes, my character is gone.
And you don't get caught.
Safety, you've got 3 strikes.
You have to do safety.
On the 3rd strike, The Sultan fucking beheads you and your character's dead.
That's right. Don't fuck that up.
You cannot ever undo a strike. So if you allocate dice to safety, you need at least one even or you get a strike.
Yeah,
Alex,
usually
in our most recent game, didn't put anything into safety. He took a strike to get the maximum chance of getting his goal.
and he rolled an incredible 5 on 5 dice.
It was amazing.
Who cheated, but he got his desire.
So here's the final mechanic. I said in the beginning that I spent some of my dice to dick over one of the other characters. You can spend dice to remove 2 dice from another character's goal pool.
but not their freedom, only their desire.
Yes, so you can always go for
So if we
freedom.
would have attacked Alex's desire, we could have stopped him.
So a generally conservative play is to put 2 or 3 dice in safety every time, put a couple of dice in desire every time, but build up a freedom to where, say things go to shit, 5 or 6 sessions in, and you've got 2 strikes and you're not doing so well, you might dump it all into freedom to just escape because you don't want to kill the character. You want him to be out there to maybe, enrich the world or come back someday. You don't want him to just die.
Mm-hmm.
So the game has all these interesting interplays, and this depth does something else amazing. Players refer to other characters by name more so in this game than any role-playing game I've ever played.
Usually when you play a tabletop role-playing game, you always forget the other characters' names, and if you're playing with strangers at a convention, you forget the real names too, right?
Yeah.
But this game, I actually remembered my guy's name was Danash Al-Tubby. Why? Because he's the fat guy. His name sounds like Danish, and I made his last name Tubby on purpose, Tubbi, because he's the fat food taster. But it's, it's like, hey, I remember the other people's names kind of.
2, people get in character and start speaking in the first person way more than I see in other games. And I think it's just the subtle mechanism design of these simple mechanics makes it very easy to fit into a character because, like Scott said, you're role-playing a bunch of people hanging out, telling stories.
Yeah.
You're role-playing yourselves, dog. So, McGray Baker, if you want this game, you can actually just buy the PDF and or the book at Night Sky Games. Now, you might notice there's other games listed here. For example, right next to 1001 Nights, I see Apocalypse World, Dogs in the Vineyard, In a Wicked Age.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think we'll talk about this game again. We've kind of talked about it twice, and there's nothing else I can say other than that.
It's not that much of a game. We already told you the whole thing.
If you want to flex your role-playing chops, really, this game will probably make you a better storyteller and make you more comfortable being in the first person than any other game I've seen.
It's also, right, doesn't have any there's very small amounts of conflict resolution when 2 people want the story to go a different ways. But really not so much. It's like one of the only role-playing games that doesn't really have so much conflict business, which is what most role-playing games are about. They're about I want to defeat the monster. No, we don't want you to defeat the monster. Roll a bunch of dice to see which way it goes. This only has a very small amount of that. It's mostly just telling the story, and the conflict is just sort of real conflict between you asshole, no, you asshole.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.